Going over to the Cultural Report podcast, you have Matt Walsh pushing back on a leftist who says, actually comparing George Floyd to Charlie Kirk. Now, this is Matt Walsh responding to someone by the name of Thomas Charlton Williams, and he says, quote, "Today, like 5 years ago, a controversial man had been transformed overnight into a one-dimensional saint, marshaled in a culture war that precludes measurable thought. Once again, Americans are being asked to genuflect before this idiot." And he wrote an article where he says, "MAGA finds it's George Floyd. Charlie Kirk isn't the first martyr to be used as a cudgel." And Matt Walsh responded, saying, quote, "George Floyd was a junkie whose most noteworthy achievement was overdosing on the street while being arrested. His second most noteworthy achievement was barging into a woman's house and robbing her at gunpoint," which I actually want to stop right there. And I want to apologize. I made a mistake for a little while now when I was talking about George Floyd. I thought he robbed a pregnant woman at gunpoint. That had been going very viral. It turns out she wasn't pregnant. She had a child in the room. So morally, disgusting for him to do. But again, just to clarify that, I felt bad because I did get that wrong. He's still, I'd argue, a piece of shit because you're robbing a mother in front of her child, which not just could you take their lives because you're pointing a loaded gun at her, also emotionally scarring the kid. Now, Matt Walsh continued, saying, quote, "He contributed nothing of value to the world. Nobody cared about him until he died. He was a loser and an F-up and a predatory vagrant, which is why, amid all the incessant eulogizing and performative mourning in the wake of his death, not a single person was able to provide even one example of a positive contribution that Floyd ever made to his community. There's no comparison between him and Charlie Kirk, who was mourned for what he actually achieved in life, and whose death inspired his admirers to come together in peace and prayer over unity. George Floyd was a great disgraceful man whose disgraceful death inspired legions of nihilistic savages to behave even worse and more disgraceful still. Does this help you understand the difference, or should I keep going?" Unquote. Another thing I'd bring up is, the big cultural differences in terms of how do the communities that they're a part of react. And one of the biggest ones was violence. Obviously, you've heard it before, but $2 billion in property damage during this George Floyd Summer of Love riots. $2 billion, I believe, and a couple dozen people passed away. Businesses, people lost their entire life savings, their entire vision, their entire businesses gone. Communities later became what they call food deserts because the businesses saw their buildings burned to the ground and decided, maybe we don't rebuild here. Because again, this community has shown they're going to destroy our property, endanger our employees and our clients and our customers. So a lot of these businesses, they never rebuilt. They saw it just wasn't worth the calculated risk. Yeah, millions of dollars of property theft. And after Charlie Kirk, what do you see? Can anyone name me one building that was set on fire by the people who admired Charlie Kirk? Did you see one person get robbed or stabbed or one community destroyed because of it? Any property damage? No, the antithesis, the opposite. You saw people actually clean up and they would actually make vigils for him. And when leftists would destroy vigils, they'd come in and they would clean up. You saw a massive amount of people praying. Charlie Kirk had a lifetime of achievements, not just political, but spiritual. He inspired many people to get back into church after decades of declining church attendance rates in the United States. He inspired so many people to have cordial debates with folks, to bring up controversial ideas. You want to talk about making a dent in the universe, he's done more of a dent in a positive way than most ever will. He also had huge political implications. He helped Donald Trump win the election, got the youth vote out. He got college kids thinking. He showed them different perspectives. He had debate. He brought people together. He brought debates and cordial conversation to the forefront. A place where most, especially Republicans, abandoned college campuses. They just, in terms of college campuses, they knew that 99% of the teachers were radical leftists, and they didn't think they could have an effect to actually change their hearts and minds. Charlie Kirk did that. He also was an exceptional husband, exceptional father. George Floyd, he didn't see her kid, didn't even see his daughter for years, apparently. He was using counterfeit currency, a lifetime of theft, in and out of jail, and drugs. Who do you, just based on a father alone, who do you think was a better father? What kind of father would endanger his family and his well-being using a counterfeit bill to get some cheap stuff at a convenience store, which again, there's nothing at a convenience store that anyone needs. I believe he's getting cigarettes. And you see this a lot in terms of culturally. When someone like George Floyd passes, only then do the family members come out of the woodworks, like Jordan Neely, when the subway incident. Only after then, family abandoned him years ago, then they come out of the woodworks to try to raise money and exploit the situation. And you had people worshiping George Floyd. Why? And the data, again, eventually was revealed that he died from an overdose. The police officer followed the book. He did the procedure to the, he crossed the I's and dotted the T's. He followed the procedure he was trained on. During his trial, he wasn't allowed to bring up the fact that I was doing exactly what my department standardized on. The court wouldn't allow him to do that. Quite frankly, I think that's one of the contributing factors of why it was a witch hunt. And yet, people burned communities to the ground. They built up monuments to George Floyd. Why? And Thomas is saying, oh yeah, this is just like that. No. I mean, no one in the world would ever know George Floyd's name if he just kept going down the same path. It became a very, very cultural, and people try to make it race. It became a very cultural, it's an ignition of the riots in the United States. I think that's why people know his name. It wasn't because of the good he did on this world. And again, I'm not saying he deserved to die. He died from a drug overdose. We want to talk about culturally how we could help each other out to have less of those. Conversation worth having. We also robbed from people, destroyed property. He's not a good person. And yet Charlie Kirk helped so many people. And they're saying, oh yes, it's the same. No, it's not the same. Now, going to the comment section, perhaps I'm alone in this analysis. Maybe everyone is ratioing Matt Walsh. Maybe he does not have the sweet baby gang to stand up for him, perhaps. Matt Walsh got about 590,000 views and 19,000 likes. One of the first comments, a contrarian right off the bat. Exciting. And I don't purposely try to butcher names, kind of inedible or just kind of happens. I believe her name is Arkiel Bloss, and she says, how very Christian of you. Gained 46 likes. And Matt Walsh responded simply saying, I agree, thank you. 1.5 thousand likes, ratioing her completely. Which again, a lot of Christians, obviously, a big part of the belief is forgiveness. But it doesn't mean you have to worship the person. I mean, I'm not sure, and that's kind of an individual experience in terms of if George Floyd was one of the many people he robbed, individually, maybe you could say, I forgive you. I'm not sure how I personally react in those situations. But yeah, so I think a lot of people mistake Christianity with weakness because for many years, they acquiesced from so many controversial topics and they just kind of said, oh yeah, let's live and let love. Everyone's good. Everything's dandy, so to say. And to Matt Walsh's credit, he is much more of a contrarian on many topics. I think that's one of the reasons he's very viral on social media. And I wonder what she ratioed him or no. Now, she did actually respond to Matt Walsh. She simply said, both children of God. I can't imagine describing anybody like you just did. Well, she is right. I mean, we're all children of God. However, Matt Walsh is just pointing out this guy's whole life and the differences between these two people and why they're, again, I always get very kind of uneasy when you celebrate an individual too much. It is a fine line between appreciating all the good work they did, acknowledging their accomplishments, and maybe being inspired by them. I think because of what he did, I think I actually do agree there should be some statues on college campuses and just also highlight the importance of these cultural conversations, debates. And people don't forget, we need to have more of them because otherwise there'll be more radical, in this case, radical leftists who want to stop the conversation. So again, I think Matt Walsh's analysis, she only got 7 likes for that, so obviously he royally ratioed her. Now, Woodstock says, don't forget the pregnant woman he held at gunpoint to his belly. Which, again, that's been disproven. Again, he still robbed a mom in front of a kid. That's so morally disgusting. You also have Exposed Big Pharma. I think I do follow him. And his hashtag is Farmageddon24. And he has a picture of Epstein and says, Epstein didn't kill himself, but George Floyd did, getting 64 likes. Amelia Henderson says, quote, it was a scam. You have a bunch of folks that says Black Lives Scammers instead of Black Lives Matters, which I still ask folks, do you know any community or parks or schools that are made better because of the millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that were donated to that organization? Generally, I'd be interested. That did get 64 likes. Another contrarian Trump tracker says, quote, we never saw the Kirk autopsy. How do we even know? Wow, how do we even know fentanyl wasn't in that took him out? Which is the dumbest, I was about to say the dumbest comment I've ever read. So I'll be honest, I probably said dumber things throughout my life. That did get 32 likes and 19 comments. Was he ratioed? Let's see here. Let's see. Garrett says, it's amazing how much leftist discourse is just them pretending to not understand things, thus making discourse impossible. Getting 20 likes. Simmer Down says, even a fool, when he keeps silent, is considered wise. I guess you decided to open your mouth and confirm your foolishness. Getting 6 likes. Yeah. Womb Survivor says, still a better man who changed the world with his life. This is why you demons celebrate his death. Yeah, getting 5 likes. Going down more and more. Here's a good juxtaposition of the two different reactions. This is from Bulldog, and they say their hero, it's a picture of George Floyd. It says, quote, career criminal dead from a drug overdose, 30 people killed, 2,000 people injured, 10,000 riots and protest, 140 cities burned / affected. Charlie Kirk, our hero, a man of God, dead for speaking the truth, 0 people killed, 0 people injured, 0 riots or protests, 0 cities burned and affected. Got 239 likes, including one for myself, going viral or going up like a stock. Joey FAFO says, we are nowhere close to the same. There's a picture of Charlie Kirk's eulogy, and his whole literal stadium's full. And then, it obviously is peaceful. And then it's juxtapositioned with one of the many viral cities burning during George Floyd's, and it says George Floyd's legacy, getting 192 likes. Keith Morlock has a picture of someone holding a Molotov cocktail. It says George Floyd Memorial. And then someone holding a candle. It says Charlie Kirk Memorial, getting 28 likes. Let's see. Going down more and more. Hypocrisy Now says, the autopsy said you're a liar. He died of strangulation. Well, no, there's a record number of fentanyl in his system that would have killed, was it like a horse? They used some type of animal metaphor in it. And again, it was on his neck for, what was it, the first 6 seconds? When he passed away, then, not get too technical, but not graphic, but then he was on the back. Again, if you want to see someone who actually recreates it, Steven Crowder actually does a whole video in which they actually recreate frame for frame the situation. And again, Steven Crowder is still around, obviously. Let's see. I see if there's any more contrarian comments. Much more. Everyone about agreeing. Let's see. But yeah, it's let's see. Contrarian statements. I'll read it. A little bit interesting. Radan says, quote, nobody thinks that Floyd was a hero. People didn't like the cop kneeling on his neck for minutes on time. That's it. Getting 13 likes, which, again, the neck was like, what, not even a minute? It was the back. And they clearly thought it was a hero. After they built statues, they painted memorials. I mean, he was the hero of the left for years and still is, depending on where you live. So, yeah, and here's a couple of people actually having the autopsy of George Floyd. And it says, fentanyl was it 5.6 milligram per milliliter? I apologize, I can't read that too clearly on the screen. Let's see. But yeah, and I can't but think, again, it's been a couple weeks since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I can't but think that there's not going to be a single riot by anyone on the right or in the middle, or a single city hurt in any way. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Hey. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. And again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.